but market timing does make a difference. And when you've got people like John Gray from Blackstone saying that this is the time, you might want to pay attention to it. If you'd like to explore investing with us, go to homeinvest.com to jump on there. Now I want to get ready for the main event. I need you to type in the chat here. I need you to welcome to the stage. And I know that Zoom doesn't have a stage, but this is a virtual stage. And the more you actively engage, the more you actively learn, the more you'll retain. Studies show that you retain 92% when you're actively engaged. You only retain 51% when you passively sit back. So if you want to get a good ROI on your time here, then please help me welcome to the stage, Mr. Steve Werner. Woo!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's show. Let's get us highlighted there. Nate, you are looking sharp as ever. I love it. Let me grab Nate and bring Nate up here too. We are streaming everywhere, it looks like, which is also good. There we go, Nate. So we have got a show in store for you today. So we're going to be talking about what's going on in the stock market. It's finally starting to really go nuts, right? Like we've seen some big drops. We're going to see some big ups. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what that means to real estate. We're going to be talking about insurance. Insurance rates have been changing a lot. We're going to show you how you can save on your insurance right now. We've also got some teaching in store for you. So when we get to teaching, we're going to be teaching you about insurance, how to save on that, what we look for inside of our insurance policies. I know it sounds boring, but Nate, you're pretty good at making insurance exciting. If anyone can bring a spreadsheet to life, it's you.
Let's bring it on, man. Steve, I remember back in 2007 when Lehman Brothers showed that it had cracks in the dam. They said Lehman Brothers is going under. And it kind of got swept under the rug. I remember us, you and I, talking specifically on this show 1 year ago, right about this time frame, that we actually had two big banks and then a third one fail in the United States of America. And I've just had some flashbacks to when Lehman Brothers collapsed in 2007. It wasn't until 2008 when the stock market fell apart. And if you look at the historical trends, like what we said here last year, hey, there's banks failing right now. What we said last year, a year ago, is now starting to play out. And so this whole stock market shakeup that's happening, how it's affecting investors, we're going to uncover that on today's show. I'm excited to dive into this, man.
Awesome. Well, we're going to start off with some wins, which I love. And the one is actually your son's birthday. Can we put some pictures up from this? So Nate has been on the European vacation for most of the summer. His kids, is it true they've gotten sick of being in Europe? Are they ready to come back?
They're ready to come back, but we have an office over in Europe, and I just have to say thank you to all of our team members that came out for John's birthday. So John's our little 4-year-old. He's this guy right here next to his sister trying to grab his gift. And the folks in the background right here, these are our team members that work in our European office. They're incredible, but they came out in full force. I remember Johnny at one point, he came to me, he said, "Dad, did you see how many people came to my birthday?" So even while we're here in Europe doing a little work trip and whatnot, like he had a special moment. So thank you to all of our team that came out to share that moment with him on his 4th birthday party.
Pretty awesome. He's going to look back and remember that for the rest of his life. I'm sure Bianco will as well. Like, it's just such an awesome time over there. The next one that we got, this win is pretty cool. We actually added over $260,000 worth of value to one of our buildings. So we want to talk about turning lemons into lemonade. Nate, what was going on with the chiller?
Yeah, so if you've never heard of a chiller before, let me give you a quick little lesson. So in buildings, sometimes you have heating units, sometimes you have cooling units. A cooling unit called a chiller air conditioned one of our properties. Well, in this property, on one of the hottest days of the year, that chiller system went down. And most people, what they would have done is they would have assessed and said, you know what, it costs this much to repair it. It costs this much to replace it. Let's choose one and go. We took it to another level, and we looked at it from a long-term perspective. We said, okay, we're faced with a lemon right here. How do we make lemonade and make the building worth more? If we're going to do this kind of improvement, we don't want a 1-for-1 swap. We want a one that turns into two. So The secret in multifamily investing, this is the important part, is that when you can increase your net operating income, you increase the value of the property. So instead of doing a swap out of this air conditioning system, what we ended up electing to do, it's still in motion right now, but we ended up electing to do mini splits that individually meter to each tenant. Therefore, we're reducing our expense as owners on the property. If you reduce your expense, that means you increase your income. So by reducing that expense from us as owners and putting that now on the tenant side of the ledger, now what's happening is our net operating income goes up, which means the value of the property goes up. So Steve, when you said our value got boosted by a certain dollar amount, over $250,000, it's because we're moving that expense from owner over to tenant on all future leases. That's how you grab good NOI.
Yeah. I mean, the NOI is what we're driving here. And it's a cool way to say like something went wrong and we're actually coming out on the plus side, and our tenants will be happy. Some of them don't want their air blasted at 60 degrees. Some of them want to open their windows. Some of them want fans. They can do whatever they want. So that's pretty good. And then the last thing that we want to celebrate really quickly is one of our students, Kate, has an offer in on a 30, it's 2 buildings, it's 33 and a 35 unit. She's working on right now. We love to see our students working through, doing their due diligence and getting offers out there. We are going to be doing a deal review a little bit later on today's show, so we will come back to that. All right, it is time to get this started. How do we start everything, every meeting that we do at Home Invest, Nate?
You guys cool if we say a quick word?
Awesome.
Okay. Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity to come together. We've got a lot of bright minds here. A lot is happening in the financial world right now. I took a call today from someone that lost $300,000 over a 24-hour period. Lord, please let everyone that has anxiety and stress about the market right now, give them some peace, show them some clarity, maybe a little bit selfishly, show them some real estate, but only if it's for their own good. Most importantly, God, just give everybody peace with their investment decisions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. So we are going to go ahead. We got one, man, we are 95% full on Pine Tree Path. Like we've got a lot going on with that. We had, if you guys have been following along, we had the deal completely full. We had a gentleman who went into the hospital, and we're not going to chase him for his investment. His doctors have said he needs to rest and recover. So we do have a few openings. We've got somebody who has said that they are interested. Nate, I'm going to let you take it from here. What do we want to talk about with Pine Tree Path?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the deal. Right now, we have a couple, like there's one circling party. Actually, Sue just sent me a message while we're on here too, that they might end up taking the entire remaining slot. But I'll talk about it, and it's technically open at this point, but as soon as someone signs the dotted line, then it's officially closed, and then this will be closed out forever. This deal is not your average deal, though. I just have to be very frank about that. Like, we have been very patient this year. We smoked this thing. We got a 4% interest rate on this property. Why? What makes it so good? Why is this one so much better than anything else that's out there right now? Let me actually just give you a visual of this. Imagine this. This is in one of the most exclusive areas of Lexington, Kentucky. I'll talk about Kentucky as a whole, but let me just give you a snapshot of the surrounding area, and I'm going to do it by populating some price points as soon as they load on the screen. So this is a local realtor website, and you can see all of the properties around the multifamily we're talking about are estates. $16 million, $10 million, $4.2 million, $3.5 million. This is the surrounding area. It's an area known as Georgetown in Kentucky, and it's very famous for these beautiful estates where they breed champion racehorses. Okay, so that's the kind of area we're talking about. And like, I'll just play a little bit of this video. This is walking up to the property, siloed back, very suburban feel. This is not like one of your urban rough properties. So because it's so beautiful like this, it commands very, very good rent. Right now, it's 100% occupied, and that's pretty much where the opportunity lies. We do not have to go in and do a bunch of surgery to this property. We don't have to go do a big facelift and gut units or anything like that. In fact, because it's 100% occupied, all we have to do is take these units right here. They already look nice, but they're a little bit dated. Take these units, and when leases expire, we come in and update them, and then we increase the rent to true market rate rent. You might say, well, Nate, how much is that? Like, what value does that add? Right now, they're rented for $1.19 per square foot. If you go and look at all the comps, which we've got all of the buildings in the area, which there's not very many of them, it's just such an exclusive area. But if you look at all the other buildings in town, they're renting at an average of $1.57 per square foot. The seller on this one intentionally kept his rents low because he didn't want to deal with any turnover. That's why he has 100% occupancy. We're going to go in and raise the rents to market rate rent. That's where we add value to this property. That's where we boost the net operating income. When you boost the net operating income, you end up boosting the value. That's where we make it big for our investors. Super, super high level on this. For folks that put in $100,000, we project up to a 6% preferred return. That's like the base level cash flow every single year coming out of the property. But on the backside, when we turn around and sell this property, we're projecting a 16% IRR up to an 18% IRR. For folks that are able to invest a little bit more, which it sounds like the individual who he's saying, I want this, I want the whole spot. For folks that are able to invest a little bit more, you can get higher pref, you can get higher splits. We have preferred return that goes up to 10%, and it also accompanies with a higher percentage of profit on the exit of this deal. If this sounds interesting to you, or if you want to put your hat in the ring for the last spot that's left on the deal, then what you do is use the link that we'll put in the chat and book a call with us. If you're following us on Facebook or Instagram or another social platform, then what you do is just write call in the comments, CALL call, and our team will reach out to you. We'll send you a message directly, and we'll book a call with you so that we can talk through the details of this deal. Steve, anything else I should hit?
Nah, that is great. Sue, if you can make sure to get the link in the chat. If you have interest, like we were just talking about, we did have somebody who said they might want the entire rest of the deal. Until they sign on the dotted line, it is still open. If you do want to come in, we have very limited spots left, but if you have interest, this is a great deal. Let's just talk about the tax savings really quick, Nate. What did the prelim cost segregation study show on this one?
Yeah, and this is important. Any of you that like want to offset and not pay so much money to the IRS, you should really dialogue with us, or dialogue with your CPA and us at the same time, and learn about something called accelerated depreciation. You see, the IRS gives you this, they call it a paper loss. It's not an actual loss. But when you buy real estate, the IRS allows you to take a certain deduction from your taxes as long as you qualify for it, and we can teach you how to do the qualification for it. If that's interesting to you, then just know on this particular deal, for those that put in $1, they could be eligible for up to 40 cents back on that, maybe even more, but we want to really under promise and over deliver on this. So if you're interested in getting some tax savings along with a really good cash flowing investment, then it's worth having that conversation with us.
Awesome. Sue put the link in the chat. You can use that to book on my calendar or on Sue's calendar. Either of us would love to talk to you. If you want to roll money over, we can help you with that as well. Sue is the master of that. All right, we are going to pivot now to the news, and there is a lot going on in the news. So let's start with, should you be building a business right now, or should you be investing right now? If you guys read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know that's how I got started in this game way back when. There's the cash flow quadrant. There's employee, there is self-employed, there is business owner, and there is investor. The key here is always to get to investor. A lot of people like building businesses. Should you be building a business right now in today's economy, or should you just be investing? What do you think? What do you think Robert Kiyosaki says to this one, Nate?
Well, we know Robert Kiyosaki. If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he draws that grid. He's got the quadrants on it, and he says, hey, if you're in this quadrant right here, the E employee, your job is to move over here, and then move here, and then move here. The end result that he points to is to say be an investor. That is the most tax advantaged spot. It's the spot where you can build the most wealth, and you have the most time to do the things that you want to do. Why is that? Let's talk about that for a second. I remember when Dr. Ron Mash came to us a long time ago, probably close to 15 years ago now. He was an active business owner. He was a doctor, busy seeing patients. He had a couple of clinics. He was very busy. Now, fast forward at this stage in his life, what he's done is he sold the business and he became an investor. And I love it because he pours so much wisdom into me about this time as he's investing alongside of us in our deals. He pours wisdom into me and he teaches me about this journey. And he explained to me that the most valuable thing for him right now is for him to be able to spend time with his wife, with his grandkids, with his children. And when he was running his business, he didn't have time for any of that. So being the investor is like the ultimate spot from that perspective. So Robert Kiyosaki would say the same thing though, become the investor. Steve, did you know that? I know you know this, but I'm just going to ask it for everybody. If you're an employee, you're taxed more than folks that are investors. Tax brackets are so much higher and a percentage of income basis. So moving to the passive income category is the best cure to stop paying taxes by far.
Yeah, if you can move into passive, that's a super nugget right there. If you just move into passive investing, you're not going to pay any taxes. Like, well, there's a lot around that, right? But you're going to pay way less. If you look at the way the really wealthy operate, they actually borrow against assets, which is tax-free, and then they pay back at a lower interest rate than they're earning, which basically makes the money free. That's a whole nother conversation. So what do you think? I want to see answers in the chat. What do you guys think Warren Buffett made last year on Coca-Cola as an investor? I want to see what you guys think. We've got the answer, or close to the answer. What do you guys think Warren Buffett made last year as an investor on Coca-Cola? Any guesses on this one? I'm looking at the chat. I don't see anybody typing yet. Man,
it's a big number. It's a big number.
It is a big number. What do you guys think Warren Buffett made? Billions, says Ralph. Ralph, I hope you're not driving. Don't be zooming and typing. Millions, JW says millions. So we got millions and we got billions. How about, according to Grant Cardone, and I think Grant is decent at math. I don't know if he's great, but according to Grant Cardone believes that he made $508 million on Coca-Cola. Right now is a better time to be an investor than a CEO. I would definitely agree with that. I think there is some huge opportunities. If you're looking to build wealth, perhaps starting an online business or launching new products, according to Grant Cardone, it's better to just be an entrepreneur. And I think I agree. I think it's going to be an easier life. I think you have less to manage, and I think you make a lot more. Where do we start with that, though, Nate? How do people actually start with becoming a passive investor and earning their income through it?
I'll tackle that. I just wanted to say one more thing in this article right here that was kind of interesting. So Grant's comparing the CEO of Coca-Cola against a big investor in Coca-Cola. So Warren Buffett's a big investor through Berkshire Hathaway, and the CEO only made 25 million from Coca-Cola. So the CEO made substantially less than one of its investors. And so that, like, if you're comparing, do I go and, sorry, Steve, go ahead.
No, you're good, Nate. Keep going.
Yeah, if you're just comparing like the top job, if you're the CEO or a founder of a company, the top pay scale is usually paying the investors more than the person running the company. So it's an interesting perspective. So do you want to go out and build a company, or do you want to be the investor? I would get to the investor bucket as soon as possible.
I mean, it's like a magnitude of 10. So he says Warren Buffett made 508. The top guy made 58 million. 58 million seems like a great salary, except you're taxed on that. Whereas depending how Warren Buffett did with the 508 million, he probably didn't get taxed on that. Pretty interesting. All right. So if we know that we should be investing, let's talk about this. Lots of news this week in stocks. Man, was there a lot of news. So I'm going to pull this one over. I'll share the screen. We're going to talk about what the stock market is doing right now. Two huge recession indicators with perfect track records show that the U.S. just entered a downturn, entering the door for stocks to plummet as the Fed gets set to cut rates. Nate, let's talk about this. Let's unpack this one a little bit. If now is a good time to be an investor, should we be investing in stocks? Should we ever be investing in stocks?
You know, it's funny because the article right here, if you read the fine print, it says August 3rd. This is actually was published before the market crash. Now, as everybody knows, the last 2 business days, the market's crashed. We've seen a little bit of fluctuations, slight rebounds, but the crash is at our doorstep. But this author of this article, he's literally calling out saying, hey, perfect track record, stocks are about to plummet. Here's why. Number one, jobs. We talk about jobs a lot on the opportunity zone. Jobs, when you're looking at opportunities to invest in, particularly multifamily, jobs drive what rent growth will be. If you do not have jobs coming in, if you don't have good sustainable jobs, guess what? You're probably not going to be able to raise your rents. I know it. Like we've got another partner who's got a bunch of properties down in Texas, in a rural area of Texas, and he literally has done everything, renovated, taken these properties to the nines, but the market has not brought in new jobs. So his rents have been flat for 3 years. And if you guys have been playing the game of real estate for a while, what do you think has been happening with rents the last 3 years? They've been going up. Rents have gone up a lot in the last 3 years. So the fact that his properties are stuck at a certain level in this rural area of Texas, it's simply because they're lacking new jobs coming in. So right now, the job market is getting much grimmer. A lot of people will say, well, hold on, Nate. They've been saying on the news media, they've been saying for the last 2 years that the job market is strong. It's healthy. I just want to point out one thing. Steve's got that on a little tiny print on the bottom of the screen right there. There's a little graph from the St. Louis Federal Reserve, and on it, it shows those gray bars, little recessions. Okay.
Hang on, I'll blow it up.
Okay. That one's the recession indicator. I don't know if it's going to show, Steve. Oh yeah, there it goes. You're getting it centered. If you go back to that web page, the St. Louis Federal Reserve, you can actually see another graph that they put out, and it's basically shows how fast unemployment rates can rise. And the last time that unemployment rate rose really rapidly, we were sitting in the 4s, and we literally went to 10% unemployment, 10% in less than 2 years. Less than 2 years. Unemployment can turn on a dime, kind of like the stock market can turn on a dime. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, negative Nancy and stuff like that, but I'm just trying to be a realist. The labor market is not that strong. That's what was kind of the catalyst last Thursday night when they started releasing some of the jobs numbers and they were disappointing. It spooked the market, to say the least. And my suspicion is that we're going to see that job numbers get worse over the coming months. That's what's going to continue to push down the stock market.
All right. So let's talk about, Nate, do you have the jobs report up?
Yeah, I've got a screenshot of one of them. This is the one that came out on Friday. Let me just pop this up for us. So this came out Thursday afternoon. Thursday afternoon, let me shrink it down a little bit. Thursday afternoon, this started coming out, and they were specifically talking about they get into non-farm payroll jobs is the category. And it was one of the worst reports that we've seen in a while for at least the last couple of years. And that's what started to cause the market to get panicked, a little bit fearful. So now you can see stocks took a huge dip. They're still dipping. I know that there was a slight rally today towards the end of the day, but I don't think that the dipping is done yet. I think that we've got more dipping to do.
More dipping to do, not dipping dots. We're not talking about ice cream. We're talking about the jobs market. What does this mean? Let's talk about what this means for real estate. I think this is like, I don't think a lot of the people here are interested in investing in stocks. People want a great return. So one, stocks are not tax leveraged, right? Like you're not going to get any incentives for tax through stocks. But even then, some people are like, well, I should look at it. If the jobs are going down, if unemployment is going up, and that's something that we look at when we buy real estate, what does that mean for real estate right now? Let's talk about that, Nate.
Yeah, well, we saw gold starting on Friday last week. Gold started soaring. And every time that the stock market dips like this, you will see gold and silver typically do well. Interestingly, cryptocurrencies did not do well. Cryptocurrencies got their butts kicked the last 48 or so business hours, but gold and silver have done very, very well. What is the other asset class that does very well in times like this? Real estate. Real estate will do well, particularly cash flowing real estate. I don't suspect that single families are going to do all that well because mortgage rates are too stinking high right now for people. And there's still some price settling that I think is going to happen on single. But commercial real estate already had its settling period. We saw commercial real estate drop when the interest rates went up. They started going up 2 years ago. As soon as that happened, commercial real estate started coming down. Office space, as everyone knows, is a different animal altogether than it was pre-COVID. Post-COVID, office space has come down a ton. So those two sectors of the commercial real estate market, they've already come down. Now you're going to see people flock to them. Mark my words on it. We are at the bottom right now for multifamily in this decade at least. And I think we're going to go up to the moon right here. We will go up until a point that when you look at the graph of basically 30 years of multifamily sales data, we dipped in 2009 and we dipped at the end of last year. Or sorry, December of last year. And right now we're in the middle of that dip. We're going up in multifamily real estate right now.
All right. So do you think that it should just be multifamily? What do you think about like the stuff that was going on, Nate, that we talked about with the bridge loans and interest rates? What do you think is happening with that should drive investment? Why is now the right time to get into multifamily? I know you said we're going up. Obviously, you want to time as best you can and be on the up cycle, but what's going on with debt cycles, the debt rate, the interest rate that people are charging?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do this, Steve. I'm going to actually put up some data on it because I think it'll paint the picture a little bit better than just my words. So price-wise, two things are happening. You can see right here, the highlighted yellow tab, apartments specifically, they're down 30% from their peak overall right now. And if you look at it from a graph perspective, this is 30 years of time frame right here. 2009 is the first dip. That's this one right here. And then we're currently in this one. It started at the very end of last year. But you've got folks out there that recognize dips that are big money investors. Blackstone, for example, is one of them. Blackstone has come out and said, we think we're at bottom right now on multifamily specifically. We're going all in. We're going after it. And so they're like, they put out 210 billion with a B in the last quarter, making multifamily acquisitions. Now, don't worry. They're not your competitor. They're buying like super, super big stuff, Class A, the newest stuff. So you're not going to compete against them. You're not going to bump heads with them, but you should learn from them. All of us should pay attention to when Blackstone is placing $210 billion in a certain asset class. It's probably because they've done their homework and they know something that we don't know. And right now I'm watching them very, very closely because they're deploying all this capital into multifamily. I think that this little mark right here on the graph, by the time that we look at this next year or the year after, we're going to say, holy cow, 2024 was the year that I scored my big deal. That's good. It's 2024 will go down in history as some of the best deals for multifamily that are out there because the market's going to go up from this point.
Awesome. All right. So if people want to invest with us, now is a great time to jump in. We have Pine Tree Path. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Nate, give us a 30-second rundown. We'll drop the link one more time, and then we'll keep the show moving. Next up, we've got a deal review.
Yeah, I'm excited to review that deal. And so Pine Tree Path, it's located in a state called Kentucky. Not a lot of people think about Kentucky. They've heard about it, but it's one of those states that they fly over. Here's the thing, like there was a buzz around the country for Florida and Texas in the last like 5 years. Everyone's like, Sun Belt, Sun Belt, Sun Belt. That buzz died when insurance rates tripled. No joke. Okay. Insurance rates tripled. And now all the Sun Belt, that buzz died. I'll tell you where the buzz is right now. It's actually in the state of Kentucky. We started placing our bets on Kentucky a few years ago, pretty big. And thank God our bets were placed very, very well. They were well guided on principles. Why? Because the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, whether you align with him politically or not, doesn't matter. The man has gone across the aisle on both sides and he has created jobs. He is a job making machine. So now you have apartments.com that just released and they said Kentucky is number one in the country for rent growth because of these jobs that are coming in. I could show you article after article on it. I'm not going to bore you with all of it right now, but I just want to highlight a couple of them. Like when I'm talking about jobs, here's Toyota. Giant Gotta have the advertisements pop up. But Toyota, giant battery plant that they're building in Georgetown, just up the street from this property. Like, you're seeing tons of jobs and infrastructure moving. So we're probably going to continue to see this upward trajectory. And the reason it landed on this number one spot, I think it's going to hold that number one spot for quite some time to come, maybe at least the next year or so. So the deal itself, we've only got maybe one spot left on it. If this other investor takes it, then it's totally gone. If you're interested in this deal, or maybe getting to know us for a future deal, then go ahead and use the link in the chat to book a call with us. The way that we structure deals like this, we come in, you can invest on the small side, $100,000. On the larger side, you could go up to $2 or $3 million with us. $100,000 investment gets a 6% preferred return, which means you get paid before we get paid. Okay. But then on the backside, when we finish this project in 3 to 5 years, you will get paid. And we're expecting it to be upwards somewhere between 16 and 18% on an internal rate of return. If you're able to invest more, like 500K or $1 million, you can expect to see a preferred return up to 10%, which means you get paid before we get paid. And then on the backside, you can expect to get more profit than the folks that are doing $100,000. You can expect somewhere probably upwards of 20% IRR. If you're interested in exploring this deal or one of our future deals, because this one's almost full, then book a call with us. If you don't see a link, then type in the chat, call, CALL, and our team will reach out to you. We'll get you set up with Sue on our team or Steve, who you see right here. Both are partners, both invest their money right alongside of me in our deals. You are direct to sponsor with us. We don't do any middleman stuff. Like, the people you see here, you're working with directly in the investment.
Awesome. Nate, we are going to call an audible and we're going to go into teaching, but I do want to say this is a great deal. We're all excited. I know I'm excited to be in it. I know Sue is in it as well. We also, if you say, well, I'm not an accredited investor, do you have anything for me? We do have a non-accredited opportunity coming up. We're going to be launching probably in the next couple weeks. If you would like to hear about that, or if you'd like to be on our list for that, you can also book a call with myself or Sue, and we will keep you in know about our non-accredited offering as well. All right, Nate, we are going to jump into the teaching. So this one's a fun one. Insurance. Insurance has been a hot topic, especially if you live in Florida, if you live in Texas. Insurance has gone kind of nuts, but there's two specific types of insurance we want to talk about. This is something, whether you are an investor or not, you should pay attention to this. This could potentially save you thousands of dollars just on your main residency. Nate, do we want to go ahead and go through this? I know we have a little bit to share on it, and we aren't going to make it boring. We are going to make this fun and exciting as insurance can be.
When I was a rookie real estate investor, I had a hailstorm come through and hit 4 of my roofs. I said, you know what? I'm going to call the insurance company. I called my insurance agent. He said, Nate, you got to file a claim. I file a claim. They send an adjuster out to the property. And the adjuster basically does an assessment of the 4 roofs and comes back and says, yeah, those 4 roofs are bad. We got to replace them. Here's how much we'll give you. And I remember looking at the sheet and I'm like, this will not even cover one of the roofs. Like, it was so low on the dollar amount. And so I challenged him on it. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And he's like, oh, you'll have to work with the insurance company direct. I'm just the adjuster. So I called back my insurance agent. He put me in touch with the insurance company, and I got into a little debate with them. And I'm like, hey guys, like, I've been paying for insurance faithfully this whole time. I want you guys to replace the roofs. And then the guy on the phone explains, he says, well, Nate, you didn't take that type of insurance. You took this type of insurance. And he proceeded to tell me that because I took this other type of insurance, they deducted my deductible as a minus on the sheet. And then they depreciated the value of the roof. They said, hey, the roofs, they're usually 30-year roofs. They're already 20 years old. Therefore, only 1/3 of the life is left. So we're only going to give you 1/3 the value on the insurance claim. I'm like, that can't be right. Anyways, I ended up figuring out that they were right. What did I do wrong? How can you learn this lesson and not have to take and pay for roofs out of your pocket? I'll tell you what, I'm not going to have to learn that lesson ever again in my life. I learned it as a rookie, but I'm going to tell you what it was. Okay. I want you to write this down wherever you are right now, or at least imprint it in your brain so you remember to look for this, because these little letters, they're very tricky. One of them is ACV. ACV. The other one is RCV. And they embed these on these applications. And if you're just going fast and check marking boxes and signing, you're probably going to miss this one. A lot of times the insurance forms, especially if you do it online nowadays, they default to RCV. RCV is where I got burned. It stands for replacement cost value. Replacement cost value. Now, me, when I was a rookie, I understood that to be like, hey, they're going to cover the replacement cost of the roof. I was wrong, dead wrong. Instead, what it means is that they're going to depreciate based on the age of whatever they have to fix. They're going to depreciate the amount that they'll actually give you. So if the roof is halfway through its life cycle, they're going to cut the amount in half more than likely. You have to read the fine print of your insurance contract, but I'm just going to tell you now that RCV might make you end up having to pay for a roof out of your own pocket. The better of the two, what I would call the gold standard, is ACV. ACV, remember that or write it down. Actual cash value. Now, I'm not an attorney and I'm not an insurance agent, so I can't give you legal advice and all this stuff. Just know that I'm speaking to you as a fellow investor. These are lessons from us and from me in the field, okay? ACV is what we go for on our insurance applications because this means what it says, actual cash value. Whatever the thing costs, they'll actually write a check for it to help pay for that, minus the deductible naturally. And so for all of our insurances, we go for ACV, even though it's a little bit more expensive. In my humble opinion, it's much better for you to be someone that's going to be a good steward of that asset that you have. ACV. There you have it.
All right, guys, make sure, I know Nate told you to write it down. We just don't want anyone to get burned. I know it's what's really interesting up here in Tahoe, Nate. We've been looking at places, all the insurance values it's something actually different. It's not even repair value. It's repair value back to the original condition. Most of these places were built in the 60s and 70s. And we talked to a couple different people about it. Basically, they will repair the building to whatever the value of the original build was. So none of the upgrades, none of the rehabs. And it's just I don't know. It's really crazy to me, but it's the only insurance you can get because of the fire danger. It's probably very similar to what's going on in some of the coastal towns. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but that one, it makes me
probably right.
hesitant to buy.
A lot of these insurance companies, they packed up and moved, at least in the coastal areas, Florida, Texas, etc. We were down to pretty much just 3 insurance companies in Florida for a while. There were more little tiny ones, but for the big ones, there were only 3. Now, just now, 2 years later, the insurance market's starting to recover. We're starting to get some more competition in, which is driving prices back down.
We'll see what happens in the upcoming time. So our hot seat to go over their deal, I do not see them in the chat. And it's our main man that always has deals to review. So I don't know what happened today. But I won't keep everybody here hanging out. We will do a deal review next week here on the Opportunity Zone. We'll make sure that we have a backup in place. I thought for sure he would be here, but I do not see him in the chat anywhere. Pinged him a couple times through Messenger. So with that, Nate, I think we will go ahead and wrap up. This is the last shot at Pine Tree Path. If you want in on the deal, we do have somebody who raised their hand that said that they're interested in taking all that's left. But if you want in, you have till that paperwork is signed. You can book a call with myself or Sue. I'm making sure I'm going through the chat. If anybody here has a deal that they want us to review, Nate and I would be happy to take a look at it, but you have to have it ready to go. If you have a deal ready to go, raise your hand. We'll pull you up on stage. I'll look through and see if we got anything. JW says insurance. JW, do you have a question on insurance for us? If you do, we'll take it. think JW might be typing. Nope. He says no. All right. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the Opportunity Zone, where Nate and I break down everything that's going on in the news to help you become a better investor and a great steward of what God has given you. Follow the path laid out in Matthew 25. We wish you guys an amazing week. If you're in stocks, I would definitely pull out and put it in cash. I would look very hard at that. I think we are going to see a lot of churning in the market. We have great investments for you to invest your money in. Wishing you all an awesome week, and we'll see you next week here on the Opportunity Zone. Have a great week, guys.
Hey guys.